Hi everybody, this is Julian from Arcee. I'm in the Bay Area once again, so I guess I have to continue the tradition of doing those hotel room videos. So here it is. In this video, we're going to talk about one of our latest models called SuperNova-Medius. Medius is a 14 billion parameter model with the performance closed to our 7TB model called SuperNova. I'm going to show you how to deploy this model on AWS, and I'm going to show you how to do this from the AWS Marketplace. So first, we'll do it in a single click with CloudFormation, and we'll predict with the endpoint, and then we'll deploy with a proper Jupyter notebook for those of you who prefer to run code. And of course, we'll run some examples, and we'll talk about SuperNova-Medius along the way. Okay, let's get started. As usual, I'll put all the links in the video description, particularly this blog post, which introduces our SuperNova-Medius model. So, as you would guess, this has been built using our tech stack with model merging and distillation, starting from the much larger Llama 31405B model, and then throwing in a Quen model for good measure. So it's actually a mix of two different architectures, which is probably why this is such a good model. But it also creates all kinds of interesting questions on how do you build models coming from different architectures into a single model. And there's a pretty cool tool in MergeKit called MergeKit Token Surgeon. That's a good name. And there's quite a story to it. So I won't go too deep into this today, but please read the blog post and you'll see why this is such a good model and why our tech stack is really the best way to build those high performance models. As mentioned before, we published it on HuggingFace, so you can definitely go and grab it from there and again look at some of the benchmarks. When this model was published, it became the best 14B model. So it was at the top of the leaderboard. Since then, we have a few merges that seem to outperform Medius a little bit, but this is still an amazing model. And the good thing is it gets really close to the performance of our SuperNova 7TB model, which I covered in other videos. Obviously, deploying a 14B is much more cost effective. We won't need a huge GPU instance to do this. So I would recommend checking out Medius. There's also a good amount of positive feedback in the community tab, so go and check that out. I also saw some tweets saying that this was almost as good as the NVIDIA 70B Nemo model. So didn't try it myself, but apparently this is good and the community likes it. Okay, so go try that out, and maybe that's all you need. Okay, so let's go and deploy this. So as mentioned, we'll start from the AWS Marketplace. So that's simple enough. Start from aws.amazon.com/marketplace, look for Arcee, and you should find us. So you'll see our latest models in there, like SuperNova. And if you go down, I guess, you'll find SuperNova-Medius. So let's select this one, right? Please read all of this, not because I spent some time writing it, but because I try to give you not only an overview, but some usage instructions. Obviously, we support the openai input and output format here, so that's good. Some release notes, and you can see this particular model package will run on 4 GPU and 8 GPU instances in the G5, G6, P4, P5 families, and context size is set to 32K, and OpenAI messages API is enabled. Okay, no G6E because at the time of recording and at the time of packaging, they're not on SageMaker, but once they become available, trust me, I will add them. I like those G6Es a lot. Okay, so please take a look, please read that information, right? Make sure you're familiar with this. Okay, and next, you need to figure out where and how you're going to deploy the model. So there is only one version, right? The one we saw for G5, G6, etc., etc. Maybe I'll do further versions, maybe for Trainium or other platforms. But for now, there's only one. Pick your region. So I'm going to deploy in Oregon. That's where I have all my limits set up the way I like them. You can see the model is free. Okay, so you won't pay any extra for inference. Okay, 0 is exactly what it says. You will only pay for the underlying instance. Okay, so by default, I've selected G512XL, which is more than enough for testing and pretty cost effective at about $7 an hour. If you need faster, more expensive instances, obviously you can go and try P4 or the Monster P5. Why not? But that's scary, right? So we'll just stick to G5. That's more than enough. Okay. All right. So once you've read all of this and you know what to do, then click on continue to subscribe. Okay, we'll make you an offer you can't refuse because it's a free model. Okay, so nothing really new here. Again, nothing to pay. The Medius license, which is really the Quine license, because that's the architecture of the model. We can accept the offer. Okay, and then it takes a minute or two for the subscription to go through. Okay, so after a minute or two, you should see this. Thank you for subscribing. You can use our product. So what that really means is, okay, now you have access to the model package that I created, and you can go and deploy it. And there are different ways to do this. So let's continue to configuration, and let me maybe open a new window for this because we'll come back to that window later. Okay, so now we can deploy the model package, so SuperNova-Medius on G5 12XL using different techniques. We can do CloudFormation, which is the one we're going to do. Okay, so I'll come back to this one in a second. You can do the SageMaker console. Okay, so what that really does is it pre-fills all the boxes and opens up the SageMaker console, and you just go click, click, click. But I guess we've seen this too many times now. Or if you really are adventurous, you can try and do the CLI, right? Why not? Although I'm not sure this is a really, really good idea, right? So let's do CloudFormation instead. And what that will do is basically launch a CloudFormation template, and we're going to look at this, and it's going to create a SageMaker endpoint and all the resources we need. I really like this version best because it's really a one-click thing, and you don't need to worry, right? So once again, we only have a software version here, which is V1, just one package. So nothing to choose here. Pick our region. So let's do Oregon, right? If this is the first time you do this, you may have to create a service role for SageMaker, and you just need to make sure it has SageMaker full access attached to it. If you have no idea what SageMaker is, okay, pause the video, go read the SageMaker Getting Started docs. They walk you through the creation of this role and a few other things, and then you can come back here, okay? But obviously, here I have everything set up, and I've got a service role already, so I'm just gonna go and use the existing one and not create a new one, okay? So we could download the CloudFormation template. We're not going to do a CloudFormation video this time around, but feel free to go and do that. We're just going to launch it directly, okay? And let me zoom in a bit, okay? So everything is pre-filled. You shouldn't need to change anything. Maybe just change the name. Medius 1 is not a really it's not a really good name. I don't know if this one is better. It's a little more unique, okay? Maybe use the same for the endpoint name. Okay, make sure you have your IAM role. We need one instance, G512. That's the package, ARN, don't touch it. Just go and click on Create Stack. Okay, and now, we see the stack. being created, right? Let's just close this thing. And we'll see the resources popping up. So the model, the endpoint config, those are fast, and the endpoint will take a few minutes. And of course, if we go to the SageMaker console, we are going to see the endpoint being created. Here it is, right? So that's pretty cool. There's really nothing to do here. If you're not so familiar with the SageMaker SDK, you just need the one click, easy button kind of thing. This CloudFormation deployment is really it. Okay, so let's just wait for a few minutes and wait for that stack to be created, and then we'll take a look at the endpoint itself. After a little while, the stack creation is complete. So we see the endpoint has been created. We see the stack status is complete. And if we go to our endpoint, it says in service. Okay. And we could check out the log, and apparently, yeah, it is good to go. So what now? Well, now we need to invoke the endpoint. Okay. So maybe you already have your notebooks for that. If not, I actually have a repo on GitHub called AWS samples. Feel free to give it a star if you like it. Okay, so here I'm in SageMaker Studio, but you can use any Jupyter environment as long as you have your SageMaker credentials set up. So let's just clone this. Okay. And what you want to do now is go to, let me zoom in maybe a bit. There's a folder here called model package notebooks. Okay, that's the one we want because we are deploying from Marketplace packages. We are not deploying from the HuggingFace Hub. Okay. So we'll look at one of those later, but for now, go and open sample notebook all models existing SageMaker endpoint, because that's what we have right here, right? We have an endpoint ready to go. We're now looking to deploy it, and we just need to enter its name. Okay, so go and grab the name here. Okay, leave the quotes. And this is a kind of a generic notebook that will work with any SageMaker endpoint. I guess as long as it supports the OpenAI API. Okay, and we can just go and click through this. Okay, so we have a test payload. Suggest 5 names for a neighborhood pet food store. Names should be short, fun, easy to remember, etc. Okay, so let's use this. And you can see this is the OpenAI format. And then we just use the SageMaker runtime client to invoke the endpoint. All right, let's just go run this. So here we do synchronous invocations. So we generate the full answer and then we'll print it out. I'll show you streaming inference in the following example. Okay, so now it's been generated and we can print it out. Okay, and we see once again we have the OpenAI output format. We have the number of generated tokens. We could print it out in a nicer way with Markdown. And of course, we could run more examples. Okay, so that's the first way to work with our marketplace models. Go and deploy them from the marketplace, CloudFormation, wait for a few minutes, then open this notebook, enter the endpoint name, and predict. Okay, and of course, add your examples, etc., etc. Right? Super simple, no code to write, will work for every single model. Okay, so before I show you how to deploy from a proper Jupyter notebook, please, please, please don't forget to delete the stack because you have an endpoint running. I don't recommend deleting the endpoint from here because it was created through CloudFormation. So I would say the proper way is to delete it the same way. So just click on delete here. Whoops, here we go, delete. Okay, and it will say delete in progress, and very quickly you'll see all the resources disappearing, and you can double check in the endpoint section. Bam, endpoint deleted, no more charge. Okay, please don't forget deleting. That's also a good way to free AWS instances for your fellow developers. Right, so now let's look at the second way to work with our marketplace models. So remember, going back all the way to when we subscribed, okay, we got this screen, thank you for subscribing, and we did continue to configuration for CloudFormation deployment. So instead of continuing to configuration, you could stop right there. You did subscribe, you have access to the model package, okay? And then we can come back to my GitHub repo and its model package notebooks, okay? So already cloned this thing. Let's close this one, which we don't need anymore. And this time, let's look at this one, sample notebook SuperNova-Medius on SageMaker. Right? So remember, we just subscribed. Now we want to deploy. So there's a bit of information here on what's happening. Okay. And here I filled all the model package ARNs in all the regions where SageMaker is available. Okay. So you don't need to edit this. Please don't. You just need to click through. Okay. So let me double check. I didn't forget. No. Okay. So let's just go through those cells. This is the list of model packages, ARNs, so Amazon resource names, in all the regions where SageMaker is available, okay? So if your region is not on the list, it means SageMaker is not available there. And don't yell at me, there's nothing I can do. Yell at AWS, okay? You do not have to edit anything here unless there's a typo, and please let me know if you find one, but these should be fine. So let's just select this. Let's just import our dependencies. Okay, and again, here I am running in the Oregon region. So yeah, I guess if we printed out this, okay, yes, US West 2, see, we auto-selected from the list above. So please do not edit that list. Grab the role. Okay, and now we're going to create our endpoint. So if you're used to doing this with SageMaker, same old, launch the instance, download the container, load the model, etc. Except here we're deploying from the model package, right? So doesn't change much, as you will see. Let's define the model name, the instance type, and please don't go fancy, and you have to use an instance type that is available in the listing. Okay, so let's just say G6E became available, this morning, and I didn't know. If you tried it at this point, it would fail because it is not listed in the supported instance types. Okay, so you have to go with one of those. Okay, so fine. And here is where the magic happens. So instead of pointing at maybe a HuggingFace model or an S3 artifact, we're pointing to that model package ARN, which we retrieved just a few seconds ago. And then we just call deploy on it. Same story as before. Let's just go. And from then on, it's exactly the same. It's SageMaker as you know it. So again, we need to wait for a few minutes. We'll have an endpoint. We'll be able to test it, and I'll show you streaming inference. Okay, so let's wait for the endpoint to come up. Again, after a few minutes, the endpoint is in service. We can see it here. Yes, great. And now it's just a SageMaker endpoint as we know it. Okay, so we can go and invoke it, do the synchronous inference again. I guess that's the same example as before, yeah. So let's just wait for this. Okay, same as before. And now we can do streaming inference. And the only difference is we pass stream equal true, and we use a different API in the SageMaker SDK. Invoke endpoint with response stream. And there's a utility function that will retrieve each token or set of tokens as they are generated. And you can go and see that code here in SageMaker streaming. Okay, so let's go and try this. So here, write a marketing pitch for a SaaS AI platform. Why not? All right, and as you can see, we are streaming. And it's generating emojis and everything. That's pretty nice. Okay, here's another one. And of course, feel free to take those notebooks and add anything that you like, try your own data. This runs in your AWS account, so you can go and pull in data from, RDS or S3 or anything you like. Here's another one. Getting me excited about motorcycles. That's pretty easy, I have to say. Okay, and once again, once you're done, please, 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 please run the cleanup cells, delete everything, stop paying. Okay, and if you want to double check, again, go to endpoints, refresh, and it's gone. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you, how simple it is to work with our models on their marketplace. One-click deployment on CloudFormation, and just open a simple notebook and start testing. Or if you prefer to run a full deployment notebook, again, go to my GitHub repo, find the one for the model package you're interested in. Make sure you have subscribed to that package on the marketplace page. That's still a mandatory step. And then you can go and deploy it and test it in any way you like. Well, that's it for me. I guess I'm gonna go enjoy San Francisco, hopefully. And until next time, keep rocking.